Hey there, folks. So, last episode we had done some work to get the tree to spawn, there we go, spawn in the logs, and we had done some work regarding the save functionality. So, just hit F7, 7 there to save, 9 to load, and you'll notice everything looks good there. However, we stop out of play in editor, and we launch that again, and then just hit 9. You'll notice the player moves, but there's no log spawned, and the tree is still solid. So this episode, I know I had said I was going to start on the inventory system. However, I do want to just clean up these couple of small items to get everything working there before we move over to the inventory system, because I don't like leaving things half finished. So what we're going to do here, and I've actually got the editor running from Visual Studio, so we're going to stop that quickly. I'm just going to run in here, close out the editor. Now, I actually found most of these while I was just doing some general Q&A work. I normally, between episodes, I'll run through, or not between episodes, but between each sort of segment, I'll run through and just do some debugging, dev testing, things like that to make sure things are working. And I caught this and a couple other things that we're going to be fixing. So, all right, that's stopped. So the first thing I'm going to want to look at is why those logs aren't spawning. So let's go to, that is game instance. And that's actually this part here. This isn't working whatsoever. Any of this is BP. I know we had done that in the last episode. Well, it's not that none of it's working. It's not working correctly. I should rephrase that. So what we're going to do, and this is actually the first thing I wanted to cover. So if you noticed, when I saved and loaded while continuing to play, both the tree stump and the log stayed correctly. And the reason being is their states were not being reset as part of the load process. They were still retaining their information from the current save or the current play, and it was being applied to the load. So one of the first things I want to do is actually fix that. So what we want to do there is in our load game functionality. Now there's two different ways to go about this. And the first one is something we're going to be doing just while we are working in our development, sort of that third person template map. As soon as we start getting actual, like a dev map involved, which will be once we get an inventory system. But once we get multiple maps involved, there's going to be a completely different way to do this. But the first thing we're going to do is just up here after the load, like once we know the save game exists and we're going to be loading it, but before we actually load in any of the information. Actually, we want to do this right here. Sorry, move that up. So right here, we're going to go for, and we don't even need to add it again. We can just copy paste. We're going to do one of these F actor iterators because we're going to go through every actor in the world. Yeah, actually, no, I'm going to prep this for the work we're going to be doing with the save game once we get multiple maps. So we're going to do it here. And then it's going to be very similar to what we've done in our other ones. We want to grab an instance of the actor. If it's not valid, we don't care. And if it doesn't have the interface, we want to ignore it. However, we need to grab that. I'm going to go up here and then if enter get actor, oh, was it get actor save ID? No, get actor save data. So we want the execute save data was spawned actor destroy. So what we're doing here is, and that's not a pointer. What are you? You are. You should be a pointer. Oh, we're using execute. That's why. Sorry. Yeah. So what we're doing here is basically, for now, we're going to change this up once we get into having multiple maps, things like that, or levels, depending how you want to call them. Scenes, if you're familiar with Unity, things like that. But what we're doing is basically we're getting everything that's currently loaded, casting it to an actor. If it's valid or it doesn't use the save interface, we don't care. It means it's static for the purposes of save. I'm going to grab a copy of the interface. If for whatever reason that interface isn't valid, because we need to use that interface to call this, execute get save data for the actor was spawned. So if this is something that had been spawned at runtime, we're going to destroy it. So what this will do is, for those logs, it would destroy them, remove them from the scene so that they're not still there when we reload. Problem is, we're not actually setting those to be spawned. We'll go take a look at the tree base for a second here. Spawn pickups, we're just spawning them in. And the reason being, if we go to our pickup base, we don't have a was spawned. And pickups are things that may have been manually placed in the world. Like, say you want to put a gun on a shelf, or you want to put a bottle of water on a counter, things like that. Or using a fantasy game, for example, like Skyrim, you have your health potions sitting on a counter. Well, we don't have anything to say here that they were spawned. So if we go back and look at our TF actor, do we have that open? Yep, we do. We do have our was spawned, but it's only visible and blueprint read only. We can't do anything with it at a blueprint level. We can't do anything with it through a defaults editor. We don't want to, because it's spawn logs. Like those logs, you may want to have a pile of them that are sitting next to a sawmill. I'm thinking Skyrim, for example. So what we want here is a function. We're going to add this to our ATF actor, because that's where the was spawned variable is defined. So void set spawned state. Actually, no, we're going to name that set was spawned const bool reference. Again, you'll notice I'm using a reference here. Trying to think of a name in a second. Is spawned. So we are using a reference here. Again, this is a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. We're talking 1 bit of information. Well, technically a little more, but we'll say a byte, just for ease. I'm not going to get into the specifics of data size, but a tiny amount of information. But again, imagine you have 100, 1,000, 10,000 of these actors that we're calling this on. I can't imagine a situation where you'd have that many all set at once. But the more you have, the more the memory consumption is. So it may be a tiny amount, but it all starts to add up, and it's these little tiny amounts that will start hogging all your memory usage and things like that. So catching it from the start is a good way to try and save you a ton of performance enhancing work later on. Just imagine we have thousands of lines of code, or tens of thousands of lines of code, hundreds of classes, and you need to go through and start putting a reference in all of them. Just how much work that's actually going to be involved, because you got to do it to the header file, you got to do it to the source file, maybe multiple times. Not all cases can be references. So you can't just sit there and automate it either and do a find all bool space something and go bool ampersand. So anyways, I digress. So now we've got this, so we just want to go was b was spawned is equal to is spawned. Literally, that's all we need to do here. So we're going to save that. I'm actually going to save everything. Control Shift F, S, not F. We're going to go back to our tree base, and in here we have our spawn pickup function. And this is again another example of why I like to use multiple functions instead of one big one for all of this. Is in here we are dealing with nothing but the spawn behavior, and we don't have to worry about what sort of other things we could be affecting. Could we be affecting loading? Are we going to start causing weird loading behavior? But either way, we don't actually need this on harvest BP anymore. We were just using that for our debug purposes, and it was throwing that on-screen message of harvested, just so we could see that things were actually hitting this for loop in there. But we were going to go log set was spawned, and here you can see it's going back to the ATF actor, which is what we want, and we want this to be true. Now we're just going to build this quickly, and I know there's going to be some errors with this because there's a few other things we need to fix that I haven't done yet, or change I should say. But I just want to see if this is this part here, and where's our say game instance? Again, too many files. Our game instance with this little bit of logic here. I want to make sure this is working correctly. So it looks like this build is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause and I will be back once the editor is loaded. Alright, so the editor is up and running here. Typical fresh start, it's a little laggy. I'll give this a second to catch up. It's one of the nice things when you have something that's got some motion to it, like these tree branches, and you have real-time enabled. You can see when it stops being laggy. But so play in editor. So we're going to walk over and spawn our branches or our logs. I'm going to hit 7 to save, and we're going to hit 9 to load. So you'll notice our logs have now disappeared. However, they have not. The tree has not returned. Well, no, it wouldn't. So, anyways, we'll stop there. Sorry, the tree. So we saved after we harvested. So here we'll hit load. You'll notice we jump our place. Camera rotation's also off. That's something we'll fix in a future episode. But the tree's still there. No logs were spawned. So let's just quickly take a look back at our code. So that means this section is working. However, this isn't. And I actually know what the problem is here. So we're going to stop the code. Now this one, I will be honest and upfront, I did also do a lot of debugging and troubleshooting off camera, just simply because I had no freaking clue how to get this whole actor class blueprint stuff working. Something was off, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I did a lot of debugging on this to figure out, but this is one of those cases where I will apologize. I know I've said I'm going to show all of that, but I honestly spent 3 hours going through forum posts, the documentation, and trial and error. And I really didn't want to have a 3-hour episode of just me debugging why this isn't working. So I do have some notes on what we need to do with that. So let's take a quick look here. Grab those notes. Okay, so I was just reading my notes. Sorry for the break there. So what we need to do, I'm actually just gonna get rid of all of this, and so okay. So what we are going to need to do is add a well, because we're only doing this with. Let me step back a second before I start writing code. We're only going to be doing this with actors that we've created that are implementing the save interface. That is going to be either a child of TF actor or TF character. So we only need to know if it's one of those two. There is a way we can do that. However, the first thing we're going to do is I just want to get this spawn working to show you, and then we'll work on the how to tell if we need it to use one of two code flows. So first thing we're going to do though is uClass pointer spawn to spawn class equals sad dot value dot actor class, and then this is where we'd want to have a switch or a case statement. Are we looking at a TF actor, a TF character, or potentially something else we add down the line that we need to save? However, we're going to do this assuming TF actor to start with. A TF actor spawned equals get world, and this is going to back to how with the tree. I'm just quickly going to jump back. We had to use the template version of spawn actor, so I found that was the issue. Get world spawn actor ATF actor, and then we want spawn to spawn class sad dot value dot actor transform. So now we've spawned the actor. Now we need to check for the interface. It's going to be I save actor interface pointer enter equals cast to I save actor interface spawned if enter equals null pointer actor destroy. Fingers are off by a couple keys there. No, it's not actor, it's spawned. The whole reason for this is if they don't have the interface for us to apply the save information to, we don't want things to just go to a default state. We want it to have its saved information. So this particular portion right here is going to be dependent on how you want your behavior to be. For myself, if we have what is effectively a bad actor, like something in here isn't correct, like there's no interface for whatever reason, well, obviously that means we don't have the ability to apply this updated save or apply the save information to it. I don't want it to be there. I just want to get rid of it. So if that's the case, we're going to destroy it, and then we are going to continue. So we go back over to the next one in our savable actor. If it is a valid one, then we want to do the whole, as we were doing before, enter, execute, set actor GUID, sad dot key. Oh, duh. Sorry, using these execute methods is a little new to me, and I'm still getting the hang of having to use this format of we're calling this interface function on this actor, even though our interface is for that actor. I just want to check something. Execute, set. Yeah, you have to still have the interface pointer. So makes a little less sense to me why it does that, because it's like, well, we already know this is the interface for this actor. Why are we having to say in this function, call it on this actor? But it was obviously a change made for improvements. I'm not going to question it. And then we also want to add in this. And the reason being for this is it was spawned in at runtime. We want that to be the case no matter what. So this is going to override it. It's going to set it to it was spawned. Now, in here, we can also fix that by having a save game tag. And then, sorry, I don't want to actually make a change there. So then when we get down here, that should be updated as well. However, I like to do this just as an added failsafe, just in case for some reason the deserialization here, here doesn't work. So, but what we're going to do though on that front, we're going to go save game. We don't need to add a save game there, so we're going to add that, and we've got that there. So this should now spawn in those trees or those logs. So we're going to build, and we're going to see if that fixes it. And I'm hoping this does, because like I said, I spent close to 3 hours troubleshooting, debugging, and diving through documentation online to try and figure out why that wasn't working for spawning. And again, I'm guessing this is a change that was made in 5.4 of Unreal Engine, because I don't ever remember having to use this template version of Spawn Actor. It's what I'm going to have to remember and hopefully keep using going forwards. So, now, first thing we're going to do, we don't even need to save. I can just hit load. And we should watch our character turn around. I'll actually wait for this to actually be real time. Our character should turn around, our log should spawn, and that should be it. So we'll hit 9. There you go. Our logs are having Bethesda physics, and they're also very large. And I know why that is. That is because they're being spawned in with a scale of 2, and then that is being scaled up by a factor of 2 to 4. So let's just hit play, load. There you go. You can see they're the expected size, and they're in the place they were in, because our location and rotation and scale was set. However, we still haven't fixed our tree. I am going to hop over to Visual Studio quickly, and we're going to go into our tree base. Get save data, update from save. Well, you can see this is one I forgot to mention. Again, my apologies. I left a breakpoint here. We're calling set harvest state when the update from save function is called. And update from save override, we should be calling this function, setting harvest state. Set harvest state, where is it? It's basically if it's not harvested, don't do anything. If it is, we're destroying the tree, we're making the stump visible. We're switching it between having the full tree and the stump. And that's not happening. I'm not sure why. I, again, spent a lot of time debugging this and I could not figure out why. I'm not sure if it goes back to. I thought I had the source file open. Save actor interface. I'm not sure. Well, it's not obviously from this. I thought this was being called. TF actor was that the other place I seen it. Update from save. Possibly this, even though we have an override, so this shouldn't be happening. Let's throw a breakpoint there, actually. That might 100% be why that's happening, and I completely didn't check. Nope. But for whatever reason, I'm going to open up the blueprint for this. It is calling the blueprint function. This one here. And I'll show it quickly. Well, I'm just going to leave that as the default hello. Compile, move this out of the way. Hit 9. And very hard to see because the text was on the thing. I'm going to do this quickly to get a few. You can see we're getting that hello, which means it's calling the blueprint version for some reason. So, we'll take a quick look at the code. I just want to make sure we haven't messed something up in our game instance. So, go through, get world, execute update from save. Okay, well that's calling execute update from save. Not the implementation. Okay, so I'm going to leave this running because this isn't going to work, but I want to show you because this is one of those, again, major amounts of debugging I did and troubleshooting. You'll notice with all of these executes, there is no implementation. It's always calling the blueprint version. Well, I'm not saying the blueprint version, it's just calling that. Again, I haven't figured out why. I'm going to undo these so that it doesn't trigger any issues with Visual Studio. I'm not sure why, but for whatever reason, it's calling this and it's not falling through to the C++ version. I need to do a lot more debugging on that. I'm not familiar enough with the actual Unreal Engine code to have been able to pinpoint where the problem is. I might actually be submitting a fix for that if I can. But for whatever reason, this is happening, and it's using the blueprint version. I'm not sure why. I may just be missing something, but so that means we need to do one of two things. We need to call update from save. Well, we don't have access to the function, the C++ version, or we need set harvest state. Well, we don't have either of those. So we're going to go back to our tree, and specifically tree base, and all we are going to be doing, and this is purely for ease, because I don't want to add a potential cyclical, circular, never-ending code loop where we call the update from save implementation, which for whatever reason calls back to the update from save blueprint. I don't want to add a potential circular never-ending loop there. Those are not good, plain and simple. So all I'm going to be doing here is on our set harvest state, I'm just going to be adding a U function blueprint callable. And hop back to the editor. Compile and save this, close out of it for a second. We're going to do a live code. I'm going to pull this over just so you guys can see it. And just quickly, actually, while this is doing, I'll explain some of the rough debugging I did with this. Ultimately, I could not figure out why it wasn't being set. We weren't calling the C++ code, but we were calling update from save. So I'm like, okay, one of these two, it's either the blueprint or the C++, is being hit. Well, if it was the C++, my breakpoint would trigger. So I need to check the blueprint version. And that's where I went into, that's compiled, went in here, added this event, and I threw that little text box on there. And just went, oh, So it's calling a blueprint. So anyway, so update harvest state. Set harvest state. I can't even remember my own function names. So you can see this is calling back to our tree base. I'm going to do that. We're going to compile and save. And we're going to just hit play. And again, once this loads nice and smooth, we just hit 9. And you can now see the tree stump has updated correctly. Now, all of this is really jarring because, well, actually here it's not too bad. But all of this is really jarring when it's first done because we have no loading screens. All of this is going to be done behind a loading screen, which is, again, something we'll be covering a little later on. So, however, I think that is everything I wanted to go over. I just want to double check. We've added the set spawn state. We've updated the tree to fix that logic. The only thing left there is the... Yeah, we added that. Yeah. Okay, so for now, we're actually done in the editor. I'm going to close out of this. Close it to live code. I'm going to let Visual Studio shut itself down. We're actually going to undo one of the changes we made in the past episode. So we're going to go to our TF save game header file. No, sorry, save actor interface header file. We don't need any of this. We don't need was a BP or the path. Clear that properly. That is likely going to throw some errors for us. Let's have a look. Actually, the easiest way to find actual errors, I'm just going to hit play or build. But while this builds, instead of pausing, I'm actually going to talk to you guys again about my debugging. Most of this, as I said, was incredibly boring and did not lead anywhere. It was hours of following dead ends until, and I don't know why. It was one of those, well, none of this is working, let me try. And I went, and this is for the save. Too many header files open. This is for all the logic here, specifically this. I don't know what possessed me, but for one reason or another, after a couple hours of nothing working, I thought, okay, let's try this template interface. And this is what I tried, and this is what worked. So that does, however, as I mentioned, and this built with no errors, so we're good there. Leave us in a situation of, well, if we spawned in a TF actor, we're good. But if we spawned in a TF character, let's say, hypothetical, we're using a zombie survival game. You have a horde of zombies and you need to spawn in a ton of them because they were all spawned at runtime. Well, none of this is going to work because they don't derive. A TF character doesn't derive from TF actor, and I'm not going through the parenting chain that would need to be done to have a TF character derive from TF actor, because it helps if I can even type that right. Grab this header. They may have actually fixed this. I may be rubbing mud into my own face here, but my last understanding was you could not have a double derived parent setup here. Yes, that was it. So unlike normal C++, you could technically have two parent classes. With Unreal, you can't. You can only have one. That is a difference between normal C++ and Unreal C++. I want to use that term just to help differentiate the two. Now, you can follow through the parent chain. Let's go to definition. Nope, I don't want definition, I want declaration. Go to declaration. Or it's going to open header file there. Okay, so close all of these out. And if you're interested in how the C++ is laid out in the engine itself, I recommend doing this for no reason other than just taking notes. So we're derived from a pawn. Go to pawn. And you notice we have game framework actor and pawn here, but we are only derived from the one. We're going to open the pawn file. Scroll down. Pawn is derived from a actor. So we could, if we really wanted to go through, and you can do this if you want. I'm not saying don't. I personally don't want to do this just because it's a level of effort I don't see needing to. Like we did with the TF character where we derived it from pawn, we ported over, that's right, the TF player character, we derived it from our TF character, which is derived from TF pawn, we ported over all the player character stuff. You, in theory, could do the exact same thing here. You could create TF pawn, port over all of this. You could then port over all of the character stuff into your TF character, or however your naming convention goes, so you can have that derived like parent-child relationship. So you could run, and I realize this is a long explanation for, I don't want to make any changes there. Yes, I do. I'll undo those, get rid of that, save that. Very long explanation, so you don't have to deal with what we're about to have to deal with here, where we're okay. We know we're spawning something in, but we're not getting anywhere. So trying to think what's we have a couple of different ways we can do it, and actually I'm going to clear out a lot of these files because I say I'm getting a lot. Is that the one that's got it? Yeah. Okay. Game instance. We don't need tree anymore. Get rid of that. We don't need TF actor. We don't need our pickup. And I never finished the harvest actor. But anyways, so you have a couple of different ways. You could go something like this. If a TF character, do I have that in here? Nope. So I'll throw that up here, grab your header, throw that up here, go back down to where we're writing that. If ATF character pointer C spawn equals get world spawn actor a TF character, and this is actually what I think I'm going to be doing. To spawn class. Actually, I was going to copy that. I don't need to copy more than I needed to. Does not equal null pointer. What are we throwing in here? Actually, I think that sorry, I'm sitting here in silence because my brain is trying to figure this out. change the name to C spawn, so we just have to go through and go C, 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 C. We don't have that function in ATF character, so we need to add that in quickly. ATF character void set was spawned const bool is spawned that what I know I named it. Oh, it was spawned here. I'm going to fix that. Consistent naming convention. Something you also want to work on and try to keep for reasons like this. Like, we know this particular Boolean flag is being used by is being used specifically to represent if it was a spawn at runtime or not. Keep a consistent naming convention. So, okay, in TF actor, it's B was spawned. In TF character, we want to use B was spawned. Realistically, we created the TF actor class later, so we should change that. We just have a lot more logic around this. So here we're just going to go C spawned set was spawned to true. I'm pretty sure this is going to fail. My brain just does not want to remember what the function is for this. Like the format is to check this is valid. But for some reason that's what it's telling me to do. And this again is something that you'll run across periodically as you're writing code. You're like, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. And for whatever reason, your brain just tells you to use completely the wrong chunk of code. Another reason to build and debug your code frequently. Yeah, it failed. B was spawned is not a member. Oh. So, again, these are the reasons to build. We made one change here to rename it, and we missed another case because we never came back to find this. So, let's try that again. These should build pretty quickly because we're not changing a lot of files here. Okay, so that built. Now what we're going to do, we're going to launch into the editor, and I'm just going to, hopefully this doesn't take too long. Game instance, please. I'm going to just hop in here. Yeah, it is loading pretty quickly. Play quickly. I dislike how the editor is so slow on the initial startup through Visual Studio. It's not that bad when you do it through launching it directly through the Epic's launcher, but with Visual Studio, it's got to hook into a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna hit 9. I'm gonna hop in here. I'm gonna actually throw a breakpoint there. Continue was spawned, so we're going to take a look. This was okay, so this is a log pickup. Okay, we are getting an error there. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think how we want to handle this. So there is a couple of different ways we can go about this at this point. Like I said, I didn't expect this would fail. Sorry, I expected this would fail because the log isn't a, and this was the behavior why I knew this would not be the final solution, is when you try to spawn an actor of an incorrect class. Let me just see. C++, check class parent. Pull this over actually. So again, this is a lot of what programming is. You're Googling for help for questions or problems you are having. U class inherits from U struct, which has get superclass is the function which gives you the parent class. That is parent U struct of class. Get super. Get superclass. Okay, let's see. Do spawn get superclass. What do you return? Okay, I'm gonna just check something here. Bool be actor class equals false. Actually, equals true. Not be actor class. Well, to spawn class get super class does not equal ATF character. No, that's is there a class iterator? I should pull this over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So, yeah, okay. I'm going to try that. So, for T object iterator U class. So this is running into a little bit of a longer episode again, but this is something I want to make sure we cover, just because this is again some of the weird things we end up doing as a developer. It's and then plus plus it. I think. Oh, my casings are off. Oh no, that don't work. Actually, I think I'm using the completely wrong one. If to spawn class haha is child of a TF actor, Actually, TF character. Oh, you need the static class. That. And this is the debugging side. This isn't going to be the final code. B actor class equals false. Actually, I want to reverse these because we don't have any TF characters. So this is false. And we want this to be... What are you throwing a fit about? Oh, missing it on the end there. Windows Defender is running. Turn that off. There we go. Okay, let's try building again. And this should be the end. If this works, I will do a quick code cleanup and just a build to show you what my final code will be here. But this is where, as I said, at the start, I was concerned, and I mentioned when we were fixing this part, I said, this isn't our final solution because we're looking at spawning two different parent class, or base class, I should say. Yeah, thankfully the editor loads up pretty quick. I keep forgetting to pull that over so you guys aren't just staring at my Visual Studio logging. Alright, wait for the tree to start moving. Oh, I don't want to select it. Come on, almost there. There we go. All right, plan editor, and we're just going to hit load. So 9 to load. Okay, so is child class? So it is. Okay, that looked like it optimized through to here, and that worked. So let's just hit continue. Okay, so it's actually done the initial optimization I wanted to do, or the optimization I wanted to do already. And that is one of the things with the Unreal Engine. I found it does some weird additional optimization. So, all right, I'm just going to close out of the editor quick though, but I do want to just quickly finish this up. So I'm going to get rid of all of this, but we want AF2 is copy this over, throw that in here. And we're going to change that to a TF character. And we can get rid of all of this. Realistically, you don't really need this. You could change these two references to just be this one. However, because it is just a pointer, we are not creating a new memory allocation for all of this information. We're just saying a very, very small memory allocation here to say, go look wherever this is stored. Yeah. Ultimately, this is up to you. You could refactor this further away to just use that. However, in my opinion, because this is a single process here, we're only ever going to have this defined once. I'm not concerned, and it helps with debugging. So, but anyway, so this is that optimization there. We've just dropped this through to that, and we can just go continue, and then we can get rid of the else, just for slightly cleaner code. at least in my eyes. I know some people may have difference of opinion on this particular format on the code. Just like I know there's a difference of opinion regarding the formatting of an if statement. I will tell you now, if you ever tell me that is the correct way to format an if statement, I'll fight you for it. Yes, this is a running joke, people, but it's an argument I have quite frequently with my peers. There is that format, and then if you've got a single line if statement, which I personally also dislike, there's that format. If you write an if statement any way other than that, you're wrong. Yes, that's a joke again. Anyways, folks, thanks for sticking through with me on this slightly longer episode. This was cleaning up my mistakes from our last couple of episodes where I didn't get all of this implemented correctly. I got things cleaned up here. We fixed our save for our tree and the spawning of our logs. We didn't run into a situation where logs were getting spawned multiple times. So, and this again is just an example of how you improve and you iterate on things as you go through finding that, oh, this particular subsystem that I've just added for spawning a log doesn't interact correctly with our load game. Oh, what's the problem? Well, this was the problem. We had a bad spawn thing. Now, going back, there is one other way, as I mentioned at the start, that we're going to be dealing with this. I'll cover that in more detail when we actually get to loading between or switching maps. So that's going from like a main menu to the actual game world. But anyways, folks, yet again, thank you for listening to this rather long episode. Hopefully you found something useful. Any questions, comments, concerns, tips, anything you want, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if not, well, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.